investigative journalist and Daily Ledger contributor, Kimberly Dvorak. And Kim, the travel ban, if you look at the big picture, would be a piece to the puzzle in terms of the Trump national security. There's going to be more to it, but this is an effort to try and do essentially what George W. Bush did post 9/11, and that is secure the homeland.
Yeah, you've got plans that are starting to emerge from the military, NATO, and our allies as how to best get after the ISIS problem that's plaguing the Middle East. You've got 7 countries, with the exception of Iran, that the president chose, that President Obama chose before him. And these countries are all pretty much at civil war. They don't have functional governments. That's what most people forget here. So we're talking about visas. We're talking about people in countries that have no way to be vetted. And FBI Director Comey also explicitly stated in hearings we couldn't vet these guys. So this is piece 1 for a new effort.
Okay, so let's move to piece number 2, and that would be what it would involve the Pentagon and our folks in the United States military. The Trump administration has gone to the Pentagon and his chiefs and said, hey, come up with a plan, has he not?
Yes, he has. He actually, one of the first executive orders that he went after, he told the Pentagon and allies as well to come out with plans within 30 days so we can get rid of the ISIS problem that's plaguing the Middle East. And that's problem number 1. And it's creating instability around the world. So, of course, this is going to be something he's going to look at. And some of the plans that are coming in, we're going to see some significant changes in how this country fights terrorism.
And a couple of the problems with the way that they're prosecuting this war that's not a war right now is it's largely an aerial campaign, and at some point you've got to have troops on the ground, and I think that Vladimir Putin in Russia and the troops on the ground in Iraq would probably agree with that statement. Also the rules of engagement. You've got to change the rules of engagement. You talk to any guy who's been over there in the Middle East and tried to prosecute on these rules of engagement are absolutely insane. In other words, for example, not shooting until you've been shot at.
Yeah. Well, and also you look at, what the objective is going to be here. Now, the administration and some of the plans that have been floating forward that I've actually been able to read, they actually have a very, outlined plan where they're going to move these people. They're going to force ISIS to protect the country and protect their own caliphate. And by doing so, they're going to be able to get after them quicker. And those that try to flee, and this is why protecting the borders is very important, whether it be in the Middle East or over here, is that they're going to be moving these people up into certain areas where they will be either in kill zones or they're going to be able to be captured and detained and information.
And tactically speaking, it makes sense, right? That was always the problem with Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda didn't have a country. It didn't have landscape. Well, the Islamic State has kind of hemmed itself in. But one thing missing from all of this equation is a declaration of war.
Yeah.
There has never been a declaration of war, and so you have information that there could be a declaration of war coming down the pike that involves several things, and these are they.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking at the plans that I have seen and that have been forwarded to me all include that Congress needs to get on board and write up these provisions that we need to come up with a cybersecurity plan that's going to delegitimize ISIS through propaganda. They need to come up and seize all assets and cut off all revenue sources for ISIS so they can no longer buy weapons. They're going to have to slowly go out and through the troops that are on the ground with the close air support, they're going to be able to destroy.
And they would deploy, if there is a ground attack and Congress does declare war, they would deploy through Jordan.
Yes.
Tens of thousands of troops, maybe about 30,000?
Anywhere from 20 to 30, it depends. And they're looking for about 4 brigades of Army folks. They're looking for about 360 tanks. They're looking for full-scale war, in essence, in a very limited manner, going into Syria and getting rid of ISIS, forcing those that aren't in the air of fighting for the caliphate. Those who try to flee will be caught, and they're going to rely on partners like Turkey, who has not been a very good friend to this country under the NATO ally. And it's going to actually look at these countries and say, look, when they start fleeing towards your borders, you're going to have to capture these people.
Well, the coalition is, it's a coalition of deplorables. Let's face it, you have Russia, who is our enemy. I don't care what anybody says. If a country has nuclear weapons aimed at you, they're your enemy, okay? So you would have a coalition with Russia, with Syria, Now, Syria, obviously, there's, Bashar al-Assad is not a good guy, but this is the guy that Barack Obama has been trying to take out, or have been trying to take out for 8 long years unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
And Iraq obviously has a lot of problems. Saudi Arabia largely has ignored the situation. So you have a very, very odd coalition. Is it doable? Is it workable?
Well, I think that what you're going to see is the military is going to present a plan that they probably can't refuse. They're going to say, Turkey, you like your NATO ally? You like to remain as an ally?
Right.
If not, you're gone.
But also, you pointed out it's important is that the Turkish border, right?
Very, very.
Because if you seal the Turkish border, then the Islamic State has nowhere to go.
There's nowhere for them to go. They need to contain the group here, and this is why the ban that Trump, or it's not even a ban, it's a travel restriction for 90 days for a lot of these countries for people coming in and out. Those countries, again, are in civil war. They're in disarray, and we don't want them coming here through those countries so they can, come to America and create and plan terrorist attack on this soil. And what the president's going to do is he's got his generals out there, and they're saying, look, we're going to make deals with these countries that they can't refuse, because if they don't, then they're not. If you're not with us, you're against us.
Okay, all right. So the travel ban, we'll call it that, the travel ban is a precursor to war. Let's face it, he's trying to lock down our country. If what you're saying is accurate, he's trying to lock down our country and protect it, because what's going to happen, just like cockroaches, these barbarians will scatter and they will try and necessarily come into the United States. Now, what happens if Congress denies a declaration of war?
There are many leaders that are prepared to come out and say, look, you know what, if we can't get Congress on board on this and get a vote for it, then you know what, then we need to pull up chalks and we need to leave the Middle East and let the Shia and the Sunni fight it out to the death, which a lot of people prefer. It's not going to be pretty, it's not going to be ugly, but neither is what the United States is proposing. But it has to be done one way or the other. We need, we have to either do something or not. And
this would include Afghanistan, our troops in Afghanistan? Pull out completely all?
Yeah, this is what they're talking about. They either are with us or they're against us. And if these new emerging democracies, I guess you can say that in Afghanistan, they're trying to sell that to the American people at least, but the Taliban continues to take land away from Afghanistan. So if we're not going to be there and they're not going to be with us, they're against us. And so you're seeing a much more aggressive tactic, and you're looking at something like this taking approximately 6 months as to kind of develop and be underway. And if the Army Chief General is not prepared to deal with this, they're suggesting they fire him and bring somebody else in who's willing to get around the rules of engagement and say, look, we're at war, we have a declaration of war, we need to act like we're at war, and if we're not, come home.
A lot can happen here. There are a lot of variables. You have this country called Iran. They're not just going to sit and watch this happen. They're going to look for an opportunity to do whatever nefarious activity it wants to do. And it's necessarily going to change the dynamic in the Middle East. If you're successful, then it creates a potential void like happened in Iraq. So there's a whole host of things that can happen here, and I just hope the administration is ready for all of them, and hopefully they will be. Kim, thank you.
Thank you.